Battletoads sucks, but Contra was dope, and that was enough for me to be interested in this $20 title. I've lightly followed the game's development and it would make for an interesting read, but that's all in the past. The game is out and it's time to look at the final product. Cuphead and Mugman were gambling away when the devil came into the casino to make a bet with them. The two brothers lost the bet and now must collect contracts of bosses from around the land. This game is hard. Old school hard, but not unfair old school hard, more like your deaths are intended to make the game longer old school hard. Cuphead is a mix of bosses, run and gun, and shmup levels. There are 3 lands full of levels, and then there's the finale land. There's no checkpoints in levels, but they aren't too long. See, the name of the game is memorization. So while the game is hard, the difficulty feels pretty fair. And while you can easily read enemies when you know what they're gonna do, it may take some experimenting to see what each read a boss does. But what keeps bosses from getting repetitive is the pattern doesn't repeat the same time. More often you get the cycles you could have died on, so instead of slogging your way back through monotonous patterns, it mixes things up. If you have a thing for bosses in video games, Cuphead's gonna be a game literally made for you. If not, boss levels do have a simple difficulty option, which basically means the bosses will do less of their moves and less of them at the same time. So overall, it means a lot less is going on during the fights. The challenge is definitely still there, it's just toned down a little. The boss fights are pretty good. Not the absolute best bosses, but they're pretty great. But we cannot ignore this game's art direction and sound direction. We gotta give praise to these animators and these sound people for working so hard on this game and replicating this 1930s animation style. Look at this in the credits. Only this many animators produced all of this. This is nothing short of impressive no matter how long the game took. And on top of that, the audio mixing is superb. From the music to sound effects to this compressor sound of how cool it is when you use a super and it comes out of it and the audio goes back from clear to compressed again. It's great. A minor nitpick I have is that sometimes the background imagery became a distraction, almost like blending in. And my one real, genuine gripe with the game is that it didn't ship with online co-op. They're saying it'll be considered later, but this will make the game incredibly fun to play with friends online. Given the success of the game, I think this is gonna happen sooner rather than later. Hopefully. Cuphead's a monumental celebration of early Western animation and the best modernization of old school difficulty. If challenging bosses and memorization sound appealing to you, then you owe it to yourself to check out Cuphead. 4 out of 5.